Hello, everyone. Today we're going to take a little bit of time to look through some practice materials for the PSAT, which you guys are going to be taking by state mandate. What I want to take a minute to do is to show you what the platform is going to look like when you sign in to take your test, and to talk about how some of the questions are going to be answered. So in the beginning, you're going to see a set of directions, right? This is the reading test, so it's all going to be questions based on passages that you're going to read. So it says each passage or pair of passages in this test is followed by a number of questions. After reading each passage or pair, choose the best answer to each question based on what is stated or implied in the passage or passages and in any accompanying graphics, such as a table or graph. For reference, each paragraph is numbered. In some cases, one or more portions of the text may be highlighted to draw your attention to a point or points in the text referenced by the question. Right? So you're reading and you're responding, just like what we do all the time on our assessments. Now, to move on, we're going to click the next button up here. Okay? So we'll hit next. And now you're going to see a passage over here and some questions over here on the right. Now, you'll see there's another set of arrows that pops up here. This set of arrows is to collapse or to open the passage. So if you wanted to read the passage in its entirety here, you can make it bigger. If you want to leave it so it's side by side, you can do it that way. Or if you want your question to be bigger, you can do it that way. Okay. The buttons up top, the back and next, are what's going to take you to the next question. And what we can see is that there are 4 questions here that are all going to be connected to this particular passage, which is adapted from David Foster Wallace's text called All That, right? Now, up at the top over here on the right, you have a couple of things. So the first 2 have to do with the math portion of the test. You have a notes box, which is where you can go in and type whatever it is that you want to type. Just note that any answers that you might type here, you cannot count in your test, right? If you wanted to type something out, you can copy and paste into the box for the test, but nothing that's in here is going to be counted towards your final score. There's also a line focus option. So if you struggle with reading on screens and you want to help keep track of where you are in the text, you can use the line focus tool. And to get rid of it, you just click on it again. And then finally, there's zoom in and zoom out buttons. So if you want the text to be bigger or smaller, then you can use your zoom buttons. So the way that I would start here is I would start by reading through the text. So it says, once when I was a little boy, I received a gift toy cement mixer. It was made of wood except for its wheels, axles, which, as I remember, were thin metal rods. It was the same overlarge miniature as many other toy vehicles, about the size of a bread box. It weighed 3 or 4 pounds. It was a simple toy, no batteries. It had a colored rope with a yellow handle, and you held the handle and walked pulling the cement mixer behind you, rather like a wagon, although it was nowhere near the size of a wagon. I liked the cement mixer and played with it as much as or more than I played with the other toy vehicles I owned. At some point, several weeks or months after the holidays, however, my biological parents led me to believe that it was a magic and or highly unusual cement mixer. Probably my mother told me this in a moment of adult boredom or whimsy. And then my father came home from work and joined in, also in a whimsical way. The magic, which my mother likely reported to me from her vantage on our living room sofa while watching me pull the cement mixer around the room by its rope, idly asking me if I was aware that it had magical properties, no doubt making sport of me in the bored, half-cruel way that adults sometimes do with small children, playfully telling them things that they pass off to themselves as tall tales or childlike inventions, unaware of the impact those tales may have, since magic is a serious reality for small children. The magic was that, unbeknown to me, as I happily pulled the cement mixer behind me, the mixer's main cylinder or drum, the thing that, in a real cement mixer, mixes the cement, I do not know the actual word for it, rotated, went around and around on its horizontal axis, just as the drum on a real cement mixer does. It did this, my mother said, only when the mixer was being pulled by me and me only. Me and only, when she stressed, when I wasn't looking. She insisted on this part, and my father later backed her up. The magic was not just that the drum of a solid wood object without batteries rotated, but that it did so only when unobserved, stopping whenever observed. If while pulling I turned to look, my parents somberly maintained the drum magically ceased its rotation. How was this? I never, even for a moment, doubted what they had told me. This is why it is that adults and even parents can unwittingly be cruel. They cannot imagine doubt's complete absence. They have forgotten. The point was that months were henceforward spent by me trying to devise ways to catch the drum rotating. Evidence bore out what they had told me. Turning my head obviously and unsubtly around always stopped the rotation of the drum. I also tried sudden whirls. I tried having someone else pull the cement mixer. I tried incremental turns of the head while pulling, incremental meaning turning my head at roughly the rate of a clock's minute hand. I tried peering through a keyhole as someone else pulled the cement mixer, even turning my head at the rate of the hour hand. I never doubted. It didn't occur to me. The magic was that the mixer seemed always to know. I tried mirrors, first pulling the cement mixer straight toward a mirror, then through rooms that had mirrors at the periphery of my vision, then past mirrors hidden such that there was little chance that the cement mixer could even know that there was a mirror in the room. My strategies became very involved. I was in kindergarten and home half the day. The seriousness with which I tried must have caused my parents no little anguish of conscience. Okay, so there's our passage. Now our question is, the main purpose of paragraph 2 is to describe the toy cement mixer, list the narrator's favorite toys, show that simple toys are as fun as complicated ones, explain why the narrator liked the toy cement mixer, right? So it's asking about paragraph 2. I'm going to look over in my reading and find the number 2. This is the paragraph that it's asking about. So our paragraph says, it was the same overlarge miniature as many other toy vehicles, about the size of a bread box. It weighed 3 or 4 pounds. It was a simple toy, no batteries. It had a colored rope with a yellow handle. And you held the handle and walked pulling the cement mixer behind you rather like a wagon, although it was nowhere near the size of a wagon. So now I would like you to choose which of the options is the correct answer. Okay, so our correct answer is A, to describe the toy cement mixer, because it doesn't actually talk about the fact that he likes it or anything positive about it in this paragraph, right? There's the tricky part. It's just talking about what that mixer looked like and how it functioned. So now that I'm ready to move on to the next question, I can either just click on the 2 over here, or I can click on next, and it'll forward me. And notice there's a little check mark that pops up showing that I answered this question. If I just skip ahead again and don't answer question number 2, you'll see that it's left blank, which tells me that I need to go back and answer it. So question 2, the narrator's interest in trying to see the toy cement mixer's drum rotate can be best described as momentary, satisfying, reluctant, or intense. The correct answer here is going to be intense, because it's something that he does all the time. He spends so much of his free time trying to figure out how the cement drum works, right? That these other options don't necessarily make sense there. Now I'm going to hit the next button and go to 3. Which choice best provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So what they've given you here is the first couple of words of a sentence and the last couple of words, as well as what paragraph it's from. So what I would do is I would go back in. So this first one is paragraph 3. So I'm going to look for the little 3. And notice it highlighted it here for me. So this is my first one. The magic was that, unbeknown to me, as I happily pulled the cement mixer behind me, the mixer's main cylinder or drum, the thing that in a real cement mixer mixes the cement, I don't know the actual word for it, rotated went around and around on its horizontal axis, just as the drum on a real cement mixer does. So that's quote 1. Quote 2 is also in paragraph 3. Notice they also highlighted it for you. So if while pulling I turned to look, my parents somberly maintained, the drum magically ceased its rotation. The third option, C, this is why it is that adults and even parents can unwittingly be cruel. They cannot imagine doubt's complete absence. And then D, the point was that months were henceforward spent by me trying to devise ways to catch the drum rotating. The correct answer here is going to be D. And if I go back and look at my answer here, right, the narrator's interest in trying to see the toy cement mixer's drum rotate can be best described as intense. D is the only one here that shows how intense that focus is, because it's talking about him spending months trying to figure out how this all works, versus the other 3 quotes, which don't prove that. Now, my final question is a vocab question, which should be pretty straightforward, right? We've done these before. So as used in paragraph 4, catch most nearly means overtake, receive, witness, or meet with. Now here, make sure that you actually go back to paragraph 4, and you look at the sentence that it's used in, because sometimes we'll see words that have more than one potential meaning, right? Like the word catch. So here it says, the point was that months were henceforward spent by me trying to devise ways to catch the drum rotating. The correct answer here is going to be witness, because he wants to see the drum rotating. Overtake might be kind of a close second option, but it's not as strong as witness. And one way that you could do this is you could just replace the words in the sentence. And if we say, the point was that months were spent by me trying to devise ways to witness the drum rotating, the sentence still means the same thing. So that tells me that that's the correct answer. Now that I've finished this sentence, or this section, I'm going to go forward, and it's putting me into the next type of section of the test. So instead of reading, now we're on writing and language, which writing does not mean that you're actually writing out answers to things. It's writing in terms of grammar. So our directions. Each passage in the test is accompanied by a number of questions. For some questions, you will consider how the passage might be revised to improve the expression of ideas. So like, how do you fix the sentence? For other questions, you will consider how the passage might be edited to correct errors in sentence structure, usage, or punctuation. A passage or a question may be accompanied by one or more graphics, such as a table or a graph, that you will consider as you make revising and editing decisions. Some questions will direct you to an underlined portion of a passage. Other questions will direct you to a location in a passage or ask you to think about the passage as a whole. After reading each passage, choose the answer to each question that most effectively improves the quality of writing in the passage, or that makes the passage conform to the conventions of standard written English. Many questions include a no change option. Choose that option if you think the best choice is to leave the relevant portion of the passage as it is. Some questions consist only of the 4 answer options. In these cases, choose the option that you think is the best choice in the context of the passage. And it shows you here what that might look like, right? And this is what tends to be the most confusing for kids who haven't taken the SAT or the PSAT before, is when you're looking at it and there's no question and all it says is no change and then a bunch of things, right? The question becomes, what do I do? What it wants you to do is think about this word, make, in this sentence, and figure out, does it make sense there, or is there a change that needs to be made to make it grammatically correct? So let's look at some examples. So we have questions 5 through 8 are based on this passage called The Online World of Job Searching, okay? So question 5, number 5, is gonna match up with the little number 5 that's in the passage. And fortunately for us, it's right in paragraph 1. And our options are no change, makes, are making, or have made. So our job is to figure out, does this word need to be edited? Okay, so our sentence that it's coming from is, knowing how to use these features and navigate the sites make it much easier for job seekers to connect with employers. The correct answer here is going to be no change. And that's because we have a plural subject. So it's knowing how to use these features and navigate the sites. So knowing how to do both of these things makes it easier for job seekers to connect with employers. Actually, I'm wrong there. It's going to be B. It's makes because it's knowing, right? Knowing this makes it easier. See, even I get them wrong sometimes. All right. The next one is 6. So which choice, if added here, would most effectively establish the main topic of the paragraph? So let's read the paragraph. So we've got our little 6. It even moved it down for us, which was helpful. So for instance, job seekers can use a site to find the name of the hiring manager of a company and contact that manager directly. The job search website can also provide job seekers with valuable information about a company's mission and history. This information will help job seekers determine whether the company seems like a good fit for them. So which choice, if added here? So if a sentence was added where the number 6 is, which one of these helps to establish the topic of that paragraph? We have job seekers can think of job search websites as strategic intelligence gathering tools. B, new job postings are sometimes flagged to indicate that they're recent additions. C, instead of placing an advertisement in the help wanted section of a newspaper, an employer is more likely to post on an online job site. Or D, some people use online job sites to become aware of job opportunities in their area, even if they're not actively looking for a new job. All right. Once we've chosen our answer, which the correct answer is A, we then hit next. Question 7. This is another one that has no question. So what is this asking you to do? Yes, so it's asking you to figure out whether this underlined phrase needs to be altered in any way to have it make sense grammatically in the sentence. So let's look at our sentence. Another useful feature of these sites is that resumes can be made searchable. This means that employers can use a keyword search to select resumes for future consideration. So what we want to look for here, so we've got no change, which means that it's right. Or we've got a couple of different options here, and we want to figure out what makes them different, okay? So we have searchable, comma, which means. So they went and they changed the word this to the word which, but otherwise the punctuation's the same. So searchable, comma, which means. C, we have searchable, semicolon, meaning. So that would read, resumes can be made searchable, semicolon, meaning that employers can use a keyword to search. Finally, we have D, which is searchable, period, which means. So the correct answer is going to be B, because as this is currently written, it is a comma slice. So we want to swap out that for which, and then it's complete. If we put the semicolon, we would be creating a sentence fragment. And if we put the period, we would also be creating a sentence fragment. So B is the correct choice. If we had put a semicolon and then this means, then that would have also been correct. And finally, we have again a question. There's no question here, but we're looking to see what needs to be changed. So number 8. This is why I'm telling you what a big deal it is for job seekers to include in their resumes keywords such as leadership or CPR certification that describe their skills, training, and education. Our options are no change, it's so huge. So it would say, this is why it's so huge for job seekers to include in their resumes. We've got it's important. This is why it's important for job seekers to include in their resumes. Or, I cannot overemphasize how crucial it is. So this is why I cannot overemphasize how crucial it is for job seekers to include in their resumes keywords. This one, I'm not 100% sure what the answer would be, but I personally would go with it's important because I don't see anywhere else in the article that they use the word I, which tells me that they're trying to use an objective tone. So I would choose it's important to get that same idea across because there's nowhere else that the author is speaking directly to the audience. So I think that we're trying to make it a bit more formal. And then this goes on to the math section, which you guys don't have to worry about. So if you have any questions about the test, make sure that you come and ask me next time that we meet, or if we're currently meeting, let me know. And I hope you guys feel a little bit more confident in what the test is going to look like and what kinds of questions it's going to ask you.